Opening words by Brené Brown. Vulnerability is not about winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up even when you can't control the outcome.
As we light our chalice, you may want to pause and light your own candle at home, or just open to light in your heart and your mind and your body as we recite our chalice lighting from the Passover Haggadah. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of Life.
Unison affirmation of covenant and mission. Our covenant is to be a loving, joyful community that nurtures spiritual growth, promotes compassion, social responsibility, and service in an atmosphere of mutual trust. Our mission is to be a faith community devoted to love and respect, reason, and justice.
Even though we are apart, we have another opportunity to participate together as we hold our joys and sorrows, those celebrations and concerns we all have for those we love, those we know, and so much lately, even for the whole nation and the wide world. This morning, what are your joys? What are your sorrows?
Reading from Neil deGrasse Tyson, American scientist. There's always a place I can take someone's curiosity and land where they end up enlightened when we're done. That's my challenge as an educator. No one is dumb who is curious. The people who don't ask questions remain clueless throughout their lives. Good morning, everyone. This is Reverend Alex, and you'll be hearing this homily on Sunday, although I am recording it on Wednesday morning. Hope you're all doing well, and thank you to all those who came to the picnic on Sunday, as well as all those who were there in spirit. This morning, I want to talk about 2 C words. I think they're critical in this day and age, especially this year of 2020, when so many things that have happened we could not have possibly imagined: the pandemic, including deep divisions in this country, the politics, and really what's going on around the world. So first, what is courage? Well, courage is defined as bravery or the choice or willingness to face agony, pain, danger, uncertainty, or intimidation. Physical courage is bravery in the face of physical pain or hardship and the possibility of death. Think of all the people who are marching in the streets of this country, in Belarus, in places like Hong Kong, and so many others. Their lives are in danger, but they persist, they continue, they have courage. And part of courage is having others with us as well. But sometimes courage comes from the heart. And that's where moral courage comes from. To act rightly in the face of popular opposition or the potential of shame, scandal, or personal loss. That is moral courage. So let's stop for a moment and think about some type of courage that we had as a child. Because oftentimes the fear that we face as children becomes the fear we face as adults. And having courage to face those fears can change the decisions we make between childhood and adulthood. So let's take a moment or two to think about something courageous we did or said as a child that might have, in some small way, changed our lives from fear to bravery and courage. Let's take a few moments to think of something in our own lives. For me, it was a memory I have of being about 9 years old and going to the YMCA near the town where I grew up in Maine. I was learning how to swim in a very big pool, or it seemed that big at that time, and there was a diving board. Now, the diving board was not very high, maybe 6 to 8 feet above the pool itself. But that diving board was incredibly intimidating to me. I would get up on it and I would walk to the edge, and so help me, the surface of the water looked about 100 feet down. I was terrified of jumping off that diving board into the water. And I don't know exactly what changed. It may have been some of the other kids and staff encouraging me, or egging me on, or teasing me, or all three, to just get off the diving board and jump. Well, eventually I did. And I seem to recall that it was a massive belly flop right onto the water. And I'm sure I didn't feel good. But interestingly enough, my courage in being able to jump off the diving board helped me lose the fear that I had beforehand. I jumped off the diving board many more times, and far more elegantly as years passed. In that case, my courage helped me to get over the fear. I don't know what your examples of courage are from childhood. They might have been facing someone in fear, but facing them nonetheless. It might have been disobeying a rule that you didn't like as a child, and you might have gotten into trouble. I'm sure the list goes on and on. As I said, courage is all around us, and it doesn't have to be courage that we face alone, although that does happen. As I said before, the protests, the meetings, the groups getting together to help support the vote in November, all these are community actions where courage can be shared, it can be enveloped, it can be strengthened, and we can still honor our fears. The second C is curiosity. For me, curiosity has always been a huge component in my life, ever since I was a very small child. And I suspect it is for many of us in this conversation as well. Imagine a curiosity that made you wonder, I wonder what it's like in a UU church, or what is Unitarian and Universalist, or what is the meaning of life, or the church that I've been going to doesn't like me to ask questions, questions that are curiosity. And so I ended up here. So curiosity is a very important part of moving with courage into the future. Here's an example. How do we use curiosity in the coming months as the future comes on us of this year 2020, not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month? Well, there are two things. The first one, since we spend a lot of time online, and it might be tempting to share articles or opinions that reinforce our particular views and not someone else's, well, investigate those opinions or articles, just make sure they're accurate. Snopes, snopes.com, is one good example of a website that does its best out of curiosity. Is this true? Or is it not true? Or is it partly true? Check it out and make sure that it aligns with your own critical thinking, rather than is a story made up as a conspiracy theory. The second one is to be able to understand why we are driven to take certain opinions. So, example, a very big one, the November 2020 election. I imagine we all have pretty strong opinions about who we like and dislike, who we're going to vote for, what we wish would happen, what we fear might happen if we don't get our way. And that's all good. But how do we handle the anxiety and fearfulness attached to that date, November 3rd, 2020? Well, the first one is obvious, and I know many of you are doing it, and that is help get out to vote, make sure people register, call people, work at the digital information booths to be able to help people be noticed and known. These are ways to be able to be part of the solution, not the problem. These are ways to be courageous together as a community. And that is why we gather as a church, to be able to make sure that we are not alone, that we are able to speak our values and our faith out loud in community. The same is going to be true of this election. We must help each other. And so part of that is being able to move beyond the fearfulness to the courage of being together. And that in turn maybe leads to yet another question of curiosity. One of the things in our culture that we're very good at is predicting the worst. What is the worst case scenario for a job I might lose, or an illness I might get, or an election that may not turn out the way I want it to. Worst case scenario. I don't know about you, but I am very good at thinking of worst case scenarios. And they usually build up my fear and my anxiety and powerlessness. So there's another question to ask to help our curiosity along. And let's again take the 2020 election. We've said, what is the worst that can possibly happen? The other question, though, is what is the best that can possibly happen? And if we look at that question and our possible answers, we find ways to balance worst that can happen, best that can happen. And the very likelihood is that the answer will either be none of them or somewhere in the middle. But curiosity can help us not only go to the fearful, painful possibilities of worst case scenario, but also possibilities of the best case scenario, or somewhere in between. This is where curiosity, as well as courage, become very, very powerful. I'd like to stop here and invite us to also consider a third, not a C word, but a C sounding word that I'll talk about on the 13th of September, which is our in-gathering service. And that third C word, what sounds like, is kindness. And we'll look at kindness not just from the perspective of our water communion, which will be changed this year, and the in-gathering. Kindness comes to the heart of courage and of curiosity. And I'll leave that with you for now, but may you be blessed in these 2 weeks to come before we meet again. Remember, there is no service on Labor Day Sunday. Be blessed, take good care of yourselves, be healthy, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you. Closing words from the Reverend Jane Jepka. When all is quiet and we are small and the night is dark, may we hear the tender breathing of all who lie awake with us in fear, that together we may gather strength to live with love and kindness and confidence. May it be so.